All right, let's just jump right in. What if I told you that hidden inside the ancient book of Isaiah is a full-blown cosmic sci-fi epic? I'm talking a story of imprisoned celestial beings, a resurrected people, and the final epic defeat of a chaos dragon. Today, we're unlocking that exact story.
And that brings us to this central question, doesn't it? Because deep within a book that's famous for its historical prophecies, against real nations, we suddenly hit four chapters that feel completely out of place. They're describing a universal, end-of-the-world scenario. So what's going on? Why is this apocalypse right here?
These four chapters, we're talking Isaiah 24 all the way through 27, they're so unique that scholars actually have a special name for them, the Isaiah Apocalypse. And it's because they mark this abrupt, really dramatic shift from judging historical kingdoms like Egypt or Babylon to, well, something much, much bigger. I mean, the change in scale here is just staggering. One minute, Isaiah's talking about the fate of a city, Damascus. The next, the entire earth is being laid waste, the sun and moon are ashamed, and God, who the text calls by his personal name Yahweh, is punishing a host of heaven. It's such a jarring transition. And to really understand it, we're going to need a key.
And that key, it's all about the worldview of the ancient authors. To solve the puzzle of this apocalypse, we first have to get our heads around the cosmic landscape they believed they were living in. Basically, a world run by rebels.
Okay, so this is absolutely crucial to understanding everything else. According to texts like Deuteronomy 32, there was this moment, after the whole Tower of Babel incident, where God basically disinherited the nations. He assigned them to be governed by these divine beings, these sons of God, from his heavenly council. He kept Israel for himself, but the rest of the world, it was delegated.
But, the plan went sideways. These divine governors, they became corrupt. They started demanding worship for themselves, they encouraged injustice, and they totally failed the people under their care. So in Psalm 82, God basically puts them on trial, finds them guilty, and decrees their judgment. He says they will die like men.
And that is the light bulb moment. The Isaiah apocalypse isn't just some random, chaotic vision. No, it's the step-by-step prophetic picture of that divine sentence being carried out. It's God's cosmic reclamation plan to take back the nations and to completely dismantle this corrupt supernatural order. So let's break down the actual plan. The first two movements are right there in chapters 24 and 25. And it starts with a massive, all-encompassing judgment. But you know what? It ends with a party for the entire world.
So Isaiah 24 says that in that day, God's going to punish two groups at the exact same time. It's not just the corrupt kings of the earth, the human rulers, but also the host of heaven in heaven. They're supernatural overlords. And just to be clear, this isn't about stars and planets. This is about personal, accountable, divine beings getting their due. Now get this. Their sentence is fascinating. They aren't destroyed right away. No, they're rounded up like prisoners of war, locked away in this cosmic pit, and held there for a long time, after many days, before their final punishment. And, by the way, this whole idea of imprisoned spiritual powers, it gets picked up directly by New Testament writers like Peter and Jude. So once the corrupt cosmic landlords have been evicted, what happens next? A party. A huge one. After chapter 24 described a world where all joy and music had gone silent, chapter 25 just bursts open with this incredible image of a victory feast on God's holy mountain. And check out the guest list. It's for all peoples. This is not just for Israel. This is the great reversal of Babel. The very same nations that were disinherited and put under the rule of these corrupt beings are now being welcomed back to God's own table. The reclamation has officially begun. But this victory party is celebrating something even bigger than just reclaiming the nations. It's celebrating the defeat of the ultimate enemy. The text says God will swallow up the death, Hamavet, forever. We're not just talking about people living longer. This is about the cosmic power of death itself being totally and permanently annihilated. All right, now we hit the climax of the whole plan in chapters 26 and 27. And this is where things get even more dramatic. Because this reclamation, it isn't just for the living. It actually extends back to the dead. First, Isaiah lays down the law for the other lords who used to oppress the world. We're talking both the human tyrants and their divine backers. For them, death is final. Game over. They are destroyed, wiped from memory, and they will not rise.
But then, literally in the next breath, you get this mind-blowing reversal for God's faithful people. Your dead shall live, their bodies shall rise. And this is not just a spiritual idea either. The Hebrew is really specific. It says corpses will rise from the dust. It's a physical, bodily resurrection. It ensures that even those who died under that old, corrupt order get to participate in the new one. So the rebels are in jail. The nations are at the feast. The dead are rising. But there's one last thing to do. The final boss fight. The plan needs one final climactic act. And that enemy's name is Leviathan. And we're not just talking about some big sea monster here. Leviathan is a symbol for everything that has gone wrong. It represents the primordial chaos that's always fighting against God's good order. It's the figurehead for all the rebellious divine powers. And yeah, it connects all the way back to the serpent in the Garden of Eden. Slaying Leviathan means ending cosmic rebellion, once and for all. Okay, so let's step back for a second. When you put all these pieces together, the judgment, the feasting, the resurrection, and defeating this chaos dragon, what do you actually have? Well, you have something much, much bigger than we might have expected. It all builds to this incredible 4-part program for total restoration. You've got the nations being reclaimed, the dead being resurrected, those corrupt powers being dismantled, and death itself being destroyed. What Isaiah is presenting here is what you could call a cosmic gospel. See, it's not just a story about how individual souls get saved. It's the story of how the entire cosmos is being reclaimed by its rightful creator. It's a comprehensive plan to set the whole world right. The disinherited nations are brought home, the faithful dead are brought back to life, the corrupt supernatural powers are dismantled, and the power of death itself is destroyed forever. And this vision, this cosmic gospel, becomes the deep structure, the blueprint for the New Testament. When you read writers like Paul or John, you see that they saw Jesus' death and resurrection as the event that kicked this very plan into high gear. For them, the cross didn't just deal with personal sin. It was the decisive blow against all those hostile powers, inaugurating the final reclamation of all creation. So, if a story this epic, this cosmic, was hiding in plain sight in a familiar book like Isaiah, it really makes you wonder, right? What other parts of the bigger story might we be missing?